There are still some people coming in. We've set chairs over there and chairs over here, but if you have an empty seat and you see a friend that's looking for you, you wave them over and tell them to go sit over there. So, just a couple things about St. Mark's is that the only restroom in this end of the building is out these doors, right straight across the hall, kind of thing. For some of you who parked over on the other side of the church, there is a quicker way to get there rather than going all the way around the church. So if you go out here where all the vendors are, the educational partners, and just go out the north door, now you're in that parking lot over there. So that's where you are, rather than having to walk all the way around. If you park way down there, good luck. So there is a way to get out down there, but so we're thrilled that you're here. We have a lot of parking, but it's not all on this side of the church. So if you have a concern about St. Mark's, find me, and then I'll find the senior pastor and blame him. But seriously, if there's anything you need to know or want to know about St. Mark's, you're looking for a church maybe, or want to visit, come see me. If you've got a concern, we know that it gets warm in here when you get 125 people in here. We've got the fans on. It's light. Right? So, get rid of your coat or whatever, but it will warm up. So, with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to TJ here. And again, thank you for coming to St. Mark's. Thank you for supporting 7 seniors. And I doubt if any of you have any decluttering to do, but if you do, you're in the right place. TJ.
Thank you, Doug. St. Mark's is a great educational partner that we have. We're very fortunate to be able to use their church. So my name is TJ Krasl. I'm with Nebraska Savvy Seniors. And if this is your guys' first time, can you raise your hand? All right, so we got quite a few here that it's the first time. So we're really glad you're here. Nebraska Savvy Seniors started because we saw a need in our community. We work with older adults and their families every day, and we realized that people needed information and not pressure. So that's kind of what we do. We'll never try to sell you anything here. They need information about their options in an environment where they don't need to worry about a sales pitch or someone mining their data. We created a space here where professionals and real stories come together to help you make informed decisions. So today we're talking about downsizing and decluttering without drama. We chose the word drama intentionally. It's because most of us have seen drama. How many of you guys have seen drama before? So maybe you've experienced it, maybe you've tried helping a parent, maybe your children have tried helping you. Downsizing is not about stuff, it's about memory, it's about identity and control. And sometimes it's also about fear. Today we're going to talk about how to take the pressure out of the process so decisions are made calmly, intentionally, and early. So let's be honest, the word drama didn't come out of nowhere. Downsizing can bring up emotions, it can strain families, and it can feel overwhelming. Our goal this morning is simple. It's to help you understand the difference between decluttering and downsizing, to hear real life experiences, and to leave with practical steps that you can use immediately today to be able to help downsize and declutter in your life. So now we're going to introduce our guests. Our panelists. We got my mom, Alicia Krasl. Many of you know her. She's started Nebraska Savvy Seniors, and she's the leader of the Nebraska Real Estate Specialty Group. She works directly with families going through transitions and sees firsthand what happens when people prepare early and when they don't. And she also, so for a long time, she owned an antique mall called Finders Keepers Antique Mall, and so she has helped many, many people with the downsizing and decluttering process. So she's very knowledgeable. Next, we've got Stephanie Froge. Okay, sorry.
That's all right.
And Stephanie is a professional mood manager. She works with Organized by Design. She actually entered this profession after helping her own mother downsize and seeing how emotional and complicated the process can be. And next we've got Marjorie. We've got Marjorie Lamberson, and she's downsized, and she's here to kind of share her story about what that was like. Oh, Deb, so we had another person that was supposed to be on our panel, Deb Billington, she was sick today, so. So I'd love for each of you to kind of just briefly tell everyone who you are, what you do, and why this topic is personal to you. Stephanie,
Sure.
go ahead and start with you.
Be glad to. Again, my name is Stephanie, and I became aware of the idea of getting help in this arena. You know, like most of you, I moved pretty regularly throughout my adult life, and it was hard work, but you know, pretty matter of fact. But when my mother moved, I became aware of some different elements around that. So I do work part-time for Organized by Design, and I also am a very active volunteer with a local thrift store here in town called Transformations, which is where many of our Organized by Design clients' things end up if they're donating. And I'm just really aware of issues around all the stuff most of us have in our lives.
Well, I'm Marge Lamberson, and I'm a retired teacher for quite a few years. And I first got a hold of this company, Organized by Design, and they have been such a blessing to me. My husband and I have since moved to Pemberley Place, a senior community, and we are really enjoying it. And I'm glad to be here to share our story.
Thank you. And I'm Alicia Crastle, and I am with the Nebraska Real Estate Specialty Group. One thing people don't know about me is that for about 15 years, I actually did in-home care. And I moved residents from different senior living communities, from home to senior living communities to different senior living communities too. So, you know, I helped them downsize that way. And at the antique mall, you know, we did do estate sales, and we actually had people bring their estates, and we would, you know, keep it in the mall or do it on site too. So I know a lot about, you know, how it is to give up your treasures. And I have treasures of my own that are hard for me to give up as well. But my goal really, when I have a client, is to just come alongside them, slow the conversation down. Sometimes there's a lot of stress involved. We like to slow it down and just really get and assess the situation and help you visualize what your goals are. And then, you know, if we want to value your home, but we do try to make your plan, and not somebody else's plan that's imposed upon you. So that's really important, is that you remain in control. And downsizing doesn't have to be depressing at all, and sometimes it can feel very freeing, and we've had clients say, I just wish I would have done it sooner. So hopefully you guys will get some practical tips from us today.
Great. Thank you guys for being here. So we're gonna go ahead and start. Our first question is gonna go to my mom. Let's just kind of start with, is there a difference? What's the difference between downsizing and decluttering?
Well, there is a big difference between downsizing and clutter. They are related, but they're not the same thing. You can declutter without downsizing, but you really can't downsize without decluttering, okay? So decluttering is really the first step. That's the first step we take, is trying to, you know, just lighten the load a little bit and sort through things. But downsizing is usually different. And it means that you're moving on to a different place, a different home, or a different living situation, and you just can't take everything with you usually. But I like to think of it more as right sizing, because we have some people who might be moving from a big 2-story house, you know, with 4 bedrooms that no longer serve them anymore, into some place where it might have the same square footage, but instead of looking at all those bedrooms and rooms that you no longer use anymore, you might want a great gathering place for, you know, when your family comes, and now they bring their kids and their grandkids, right? So you want a space that's gonna fit you and your lifestyle today, and it's gonna make your life simpler and safer and easier to enjoy. And decluttering is more like editing your life, or right sizing or moving. That's actually making your life fit into the space that you have. and make it better now. So, sometimes people like to start early, and some people wait until it's too late, and when they're in a crisis mode. So, there's two paths that you can take. You can plan ahead and start now, and do it little by little, or you can wait until those decisions aren't yours sometimes.
Okay. The next question is actually gonna be for Stephanie. Stephanie, from your experience, especially helping your own mom, at what point did you realize that decluttering wasn't just cleaning up, but that it was part of a transition process?
Exactly. When I helped my mom move from a 55 plus condo where she had lived for 25 years into Eastmont, independent living a few years back, and it dawned on me that this move, even though I was very familiar with moving myself, that this move for her did genuinely signal a life transition. And at that point, I had actually moved as an adult from one house I owned to another house I owned 6 times. So I was familiar with moving. And while all my moves had represented exciting new chapters for me professionally and geographically, they were actually very similar in terms of my personal life stages. But I hadn't really thought about it before, but Mom was moving to what probably would be, and in fact did turn out to be, her final forever living situation. She wasn't simply moving to a new address, she was moving to a whole different life experience. And that had a lot of influence and impact on how she and her family, me, thought about her things, her possessions, as we began to organize and pack.
Great. So Mom, from the estate sales side, what do you see most often when families wait too long to start downsizing?
Well, one of the big things we see is sometimes people have been in their home 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, even 50 years, okay? You can get a lot of stuff in your house after that long, can't you? Raise your hand if you're like me. I'm calling myself out here, but raise your hand if you have boxes in your house that you don't know what's in them. Okay. How long have they been in here? Okay, I got boxes like I haven't seen inside of them for probably 20 years. Anybody got more than 20 years? Okay, hey, we need to start a club, right? Well, it's nice to know that we're not alone. So we often see basements or garages full of stuff that they no longer use because they put it there because it was in their way, right? They wanted it out of the way, but then we forget about it. And after maybe 20 years, we might not need it. You know, in the antiquing world, we say the longer it sits, the better it gets. But that might be true in our own household stuff. So one other thing that we see, and this is what's really sad, is the storage garages. Storage garages are huge businesses, and people don't mean to put stuff in there for 20 years. But what happens is they're moving, and somebody else may have decided, we'll put this in storage and we'll deal with it later. Well, after paying the garage storage fees for 10, 15 years, you've spent thousands of dollars in storage fees that you really didn't want or intend to buy a storage garage for another company, did you? So that's something we see. And then, you know, they ask us to go and sell it. And you know, they think that they'll get everything that they paid for that storage at, and sometimes it's only a couple $100. And sometimes that stuff, after being in storage, if it's not packed right, it's no longer very valuable at all. And if you had other people pack it, sometimes they're packing dirty dishes and dirty microwaves and all kinds of stuff that's never gonna sell anyway. And TVs, you know, a 10-year-old TV, a 5-year-old TV is pretty obsolete anymore. So, you know, you can imagine some of that stuff that sits there that's not in any value. So, and it's not because people intend to do this, it just kind of happens. Life gets busy, doesn't it? And another hard part is when a health event does happen and someone does have to move quickly, and then your family has to sort through all that stuff. So I try to remind people that deciding what matters most and letting the rest bless somebody else can use that in their home. There's always people who need things, and you know, we have a lot of needy people in our community. So if you have things, you know, donate it or call me, because I know people who are looking for some stuff like that. So you want to start earlier rather than later, and even just a little bit at a time helps. You know, life's inch by inch, life's a cinch. That's really the way it is with downsizing and decluttering too. So, and honestly, when people see their belongings going to somebody else who can really use those, and appreciate them, sometimes it's better than just sending them off to a donation site, right? So, that's my spin on that one.
All right, Stephanie, from an adult child's perspective, where does the drama usually begin?
You know, there were some emotional moments in my mom's, I'm sorry, a little bit closer. There were some emotional moments in my mom's, you know, transitioning to a new life situation. But I should tell you a few things about my mom because she was a little bit atypical. My mom had, well, this is something a lot of you can relate to. My mom had been really, and I don't think traumatized is too strong a word, she had really been traumatized about having to clean out her own parents' home, where they had, in Alliance, Nebraska, where they had lived for 60 years, and some years before, and so she was very, very motivated and very, very articulate about, I'm not gonna do the same thing to you kids. So she had started early, like what you're talking about. And while she was very active in the community in a number of pursuits, had lots and lots of things going on in her life, they were mostly around education and community groups and the church. She didn't do a lot of things that required stuff. So she didn't have hobbies that, like, you know, sewing or you know, collecting bottle caps or anything like that. So she didn't have a lot of stuff around those kinds of activities. And she wasn't a collector, as I said, and wasn't especially sentimental. And often said that, again, even though she was very close to her parents, she didn't like being raised in a home as a kid that had a lot of knickknacks and was really small and kind of cluttered itself. So she was a little bit atypical in that she, all of that, as long as I can remember, had kept things, you know, pretty decluttered, pretty tidy, pretty well organized, which a lot of us can't say. But there were absolutely emotional moments in this. And again, I will say, there are 4 kids in my family, and we are all very close. So in what can sometimes be unusual as well, we were all generally rowing in the same direction, and there wasn't a lot of family drama around Mom's move. But there, you know, there's just that existential piece again of knowing that this was going to be Mom's probably final home, and you know, and what did that mean as for the next generation, as those of us, you know, move up one place in the pecking order, and so that was just hard to think about, and that was sort of an overarching thing. But more practically, even with my mother being sort of atypical in that regard, there was a lot of energy spent around where are those things gonna go? Was there someone in her life that could use it? And if so, who and how are we gonna get that item to them? And did they really want it? Was something actually gonna be thrown away? And you know, that's kind of hard for all of us. If it was gonna be donated, where was it gonna be donated? And who was going to get it to that donation place? And then of course, even with her, there were those things that had emotional weight, and you know, Aunt Lily's vase. You know, she just didn't have it in her, and I got it to make that go away. So regardless of whether or not they were ever going to be used, and in her situation, some of those things never came out of the moving box after she moved, there were a lot of things that made the move with her because of their emotional weight and sentimentality. And then 3 years after she moved to independent living, her dementia became such that she had to move, still at Eastmont, but she had to move to a new unit in the assisted living side of things. And by then she was so physically and mentally and emotionally fragile, that made the move very emotionally hard in other ways. But what we have seen, you know, my family aside, getting back to your key question, you know, family drama, this is gonna bring up every single I'm still mad about it thing that people have ever had. Mom liked you the best. You read my diary when I was 11. And that is going to, and you know, some families are more able to deal with those things, some families aren't. One of the places where sometimes we see things get tricky is the adult child who lives farthest away and has been least involved with what's going on here at the home front has the most opinions once they come into town. And that can really aggravate the people who are here and boots on the ground and do know what's going on. So there are a lot of places where things can get painful and tricky, and you may need to bring in some kind of outsiders to help navigate that for you.
Great, thank you. I'm definitely not looking forward to that process. My oldest sister lives in North Carolina. So
Oh, she's gonna have a lot
to
to say about it. Yes, she is.
So Marge, we're gonna talk to you here for a second. You've actually been through this process yourself. Can you just kind of tell us a little bit, like what triggered your decision?
Well, about 5 years ago. Okay. Like this. Okay. About 5 years ago, my husband has started having some health issues. And I found myself being not only his caretaker, but also in charge of the whole house. We lived in a 5-bedroom house, and like I say, I was mowing the lawn, I was cooking the meals, I was doing meds, I was doing everything. And the house just, I loved my house, but it just became way too much for me. And I was just exhausted. And so I went to this company called Oasis, and the gal named Kelsey, she said, how can I help you? And so I told her my story, and she helped with our children. The children came down too. I had a daughter in Sioux Falls and a son in Omaha, and we looked at 4 different places, and I put in there was a long waiting list. And so I put our name down at Pemberley, and it took us 9 months to get in. But, and so I kind of started through the house, and I thought, I always make this mistake. I thought, oh, I can do this. This is not a problem, I can do this. About halfway into the first day, I said to myself, I can't do this by myself. So Kelsey had suggested Organized by Design. So I called Wendy, and I was really concerned because I called her about the middle of November, it was before Thanksgiving, and we were moving December 4th. And I thought, oh my, I missed my window. But she set me up with Kelsey, not Kelsey, with Logan and Krista, and they came out, and we started in the basement, and I want to tell you that I looked around and I thought, I don't need all this stuff. And we were also moving to a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment from a 5-bedroom. And so we started going through the things, and it went really, they were so good in not saying, oh, you don't need this. I'm sure they thought that. but we decided three things. Either donate it, keep it, or throw it away. And so they were unbelievably helpful. And my husband at that point wasn't really interested in things. And so that helped me too, because of course, in a way, I had never been the real decision maker. And all of a sudden, I was the real decision maker. So anyway, they came several times and just cleaned out rooms. My kids actually took a few things, which shocked me. Anyway, and so the day we moved, the day before, my daughter came down for 5 days and helped a lot. But the day before we moved, the girls from Organized by Design, they took a lot of things over to the apartment. And the day we moved, they were there too, along with my daughter. And my son was there too. But by the time we got through signing paperwork, we went up to the apartment and it was all done. Almost all done. I still can't hardly believe it. But I was very careful with what I wanted to take over there. And somebody said, well, did you have a hard time finding what you wanted in your apartment because it was basically done for you? And I said, no, because I didn't take much. and I didn't want a cluttered apartment because I've lived, not really in a cluttered house, but a big house that, you know how you are, you find something or buy something or something and you think, well, I'll just stick it back. You know, I won't really deal with it. So I had a very short time to deal with things, but that was good for me because I needed that short time. I just needed to make quick decisions and not to hang on to a lot of stuff. And they'd ask me if I wanted it, and I made pretty quick decisions because I'd look at it and I'd think, I don't need it. It doesn't bring me any joy. It's going. And so, also, one of the things that they did that was just wonderful was they took things that I wanted donated, and they asked me where I wanted it donated, and I didn't really have a spot, and so they took it. And so I didn't have to go all around Lincoln to try to figure out where to donate this stuff to. So anyway, that's my story. And we're very happy over at Pembroke.
Great. I can definitely relate to the part that she said about just getting stuff and putting it in different places. I've got 3 teenagers right now, and whenever they clean, they just throw stuff in places and they find it later.
Under the couch.
But we do tend to kind of do that ourselves. I'm sure they learned from somewhere. So, can you tell me, Marge, what was the hardest thing about making that move?
Okay, the hardest thing, I think, was finally making the decision that we had to move. That I just couldn't take care of the house anymore. And our kids were very helpful. They were saying, Mom, it's time. And I was so glad because you know how moving it is. It's a job. And I did have lots of help, which was great. But, you know, I was so glad that we hadn't waited and that we weren't in crisis. And you can't believe how stiff and sore I was.
Yeah. I'm sure that there was a lot of stress that goes into that process. Or was there some things that maybe helped reduce that stress?
Some things what?
That helped reduce that stress?
Yes. well, the girls, Krista and Logan, they were sweet, there was no pressure to it. They were great with my husband. He loves to tease, and they teased him back. And, yeah, and our daughter was more accepting of the situation than our son. And so, I'm sure a lot of you have gone through that. And so, but he would talk to her, and she would say, this needs to be done. So that was helpful too.
Okay, so that sounds like there was a little bit of tension there. Were there any other places where tension like came up in the process, or how did you deal with those kinds of things?
Well, I prayed a lot. and yeah, there were tensions, especially with my son. And my husband was a hunter and a fisherman. And I knew he had a lot of stuff, but I had no. And we started going through this stuff, and I'll tell you kind of a funny story. Okay, so we not only had our stuff, our kids' stuff, our parents' stuff, all this kind of stuff. And so my husband, I knew we had like those old-fashioned plows. And of course, he grew up on a farm, I grew up on a farm. And so he had kind of stuck that in the backyard, you know, where we really couldn't see it. And a hay hook. Have you ever heard of a hay hook? Yeah. And so, and let's see what else. And some pumps and that plow. And so I looked at that and I said, what are we gonna do with this? And my daughter, who is married to a realtor, said, Mom, you have to get rid of this. You just have to get rid of this. And that was really stressful for me because my husband just kept saying, I'll just leave it. And I thought, I know we can't just leave it. And so I called around, and finally my nephew came and he said, Marge, he said, I'll get rid of it for you. And that was just like a brick off my head. Because, you know, you have things in your house that you look at and you think, I don't know what to do with this. I have no idea. So that was very stressful for me, mostly his stuff. Because I could get rid of my stuff.
All right, so as far as you know, going through that process, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of us out here who are going to have to do that process sometime. Is there any lessons that you would tell us, things that you would maybe do different if you had to go back and do it all over again?
I don't think I'd really do much differently. I'd probably call Organized by Design a lot earlier. And I would make some decisions earlier. And I think I just really encourage you to make a decision early, even if you think it's too early, because you don't want to be in crisis mode. And because you may have to take a place that you don't really want. And also I just think, look at your stuff and just be honest with yourself and say, I don't need it, I don't want it. And don't worry about, I really have had no regrets on anything that went out of the house that I didn't need or want.
Glad to hear that. So, Stephanie, the next question is going to be for you. What was the hardest emotional moment that you had when helping your mom?
Well, it was, you know, clearly when we moved her to assisted living, and I knew, you know, in spite of our best efforts, she was gonna be confused and distressed. that she was in a new place and things were switched around. And while some of that was inevitable and there wasn't anything we could do about it, there were things that we could do about it. And again, I think a lot of that came down to the professionals that we hired in that move, even though, as I said, she didn't have a lot of stuff, but they were able to get things organized in a much more efficient way than I could have. They had made it their business to know what things had sentimental value, and they made sure that those pieces were front and center, so she would see them when she came in, and so there were just a lot of tricks and tips that they brought to the table that I would not have necessarily thought about that we could implement. So, you know, some of the stress, some of the sadness, some of the existential stuff is, it just is. It just is gonna come with the package, but I think there's a lot to be said of being prepared and not, as much as you can, not being in an urgent situation where you're making decisions under pressure that can help ease some of that emotional pieces.
Great. Mom, what do families misunderstand about the value of their belongings?
Well, this can be really big, because this is where expectations and reality sometimes meet. And one thing families often misunderstand is the difference between their sentimental value and their market value. So, sometimes it belongs to our parents or our grandparents, or reminds you of a special time in our life or theirs. But the market doesn't see the memories, does it? They only see the item with no memories attached to that. So it's more about supply and demand for your items. And things change as there's a generational shift. I don't know, but the last 10 years, if it wasn't gray, white, and black, nobody bought it, right? So it's that farmhouse look. Now colors are coming back, so hang on to your stuff. Which is, I know, that's me stupid. That's what we're doing. But hang on to some of those colored stuff, maybe. But that doesn't mean these items aren't special or meaningful or have a place in our life. It just means that the resale is going to be different when we actually sell it. So sometimes the value isn't connected to the money part of it. And sometimes the real value might be when your kids say, Mom, can I have this? This reminds me of Dad. I want to take it with me. And so, you know, that connects that memory with them. And they always say, hey, the reason people don't want Grandma's china is because Grandma doesn't use her china anymore. If Grandma uses her china, then people will see it and that'll remind them of Grandma. So get out that china and use it. I always say, life, if you got really nice dishes, life's too short not to use the good dishes, right? But I'm a dish person, so they have a lot of dishes to buy. But the goal with downsizing, it isn't trying to squeeze everything that you have into a small place, and it's not about squeezing every dollar out of what we have. It's really about finding the right home for the things that you care about, and someone to appreciate that. And it really does feel good when you see those belongings go into someone else that will take care of them.
Yeah, just make sure those dishes don't have lead or uranium.
I'm sure they do. They do have uranium, I know that.
All right, we've talked a lot about downsizing. Let's kind of jump into decluttering a bit. What can we do to declutter before downsizing? Maybe we should talk to, let's go with Stephanie for that question.
You told me what questions you were gonna ask. I, have all this great stuff on a completely different topic. Well, as Alicia said at the beginning, decluttering is just getting rid of things that you don't necessarily use or need or want anymore, without a secondary goal in mind. It's just getting that drawer, that closet, clothes that you just really don't wear anymore, the basement, maybe sporting equipment, having some goal in mind to just right size, as you said, I like that term, lighten your own life. And that is different from downsizing in the sense that downsizing is gonna take you, maybe even not physically, maybe you're not gonna move, but downsizing is about taking you someplace else. Whereas decluttering is about just getting rid of things that are not serving you. And you know, one of the things, as kind of a side note here, I thought about some years ago, especially as I was becoming more involved in sort of the thrift store movement, is think about how much of your life, just from the time you get up, moment by moment, is spent in service to your stuff. You're washing your clothes, you're cleaning your stuff, you're rearranging your stuff, you're arranging to get your stuff repaired. If you really sort of stop and think about all of the things you did this morning, a lot of them probably, or today, a lot of them are gonna be around, as I say, in service to your stuff. And the less stuff that you have, the more of your time can be spent in doing other, I would say, much more interesting things that likely involve people and adventures and experiences, and not necessarily having to take care of your stuff. But I'm gonna kind of send this back to Alicia in terms of, you know, what's the difference between decluttering and downsizing.
So decluttering is more like a spring cleaning, okay? It's getting rid of things that you don't need, things that you put away. Maybe you haven't seen them for 5 or 10 years, and getting rid of some of that stuff that you don't use. It means not having 4 can openers in the drawer, especially when 3 of them don't work, right? And so it's about making your life simpler on a day-to-day basis, and it doesn't always mean that you're gonna be moving. But if you do move and you're decluttered first, that'll sure make that move a lot easier.
Marge, let me ask you, so you had talked kind of about your house before you made the move, and that you didn't want your new place to be kind of cluttered. Can you explain, as far as if you had to go back, or you're talking to all of us who maybe haven't downsized yet, would you do anything different while you were living at your house to declutter, or what's kind of the difference that you see from your life now to the life that you had at your house?
Well, I definitely would have decluttered. But I had kind of a hard situation because, like I say, my husband was a hunter and a fisherman. And he did not want to give up any of that. And so, but his brother kind of stepped in and took a lot of that stuff, which was a real relief for me. But I think I would have, you know, I went through clothes, but when I knew that I was definitely going to move, that's when I made some real decisions, because I did declutter on clothes or books or things like that, but not really with the intention of getting rid of a lot of stuff. And my daughter really helped me. We went over, we looked at the place, and she'd say, she was really good, but she'd say, "Mom, I'm gonna measure this and I'm not sure it'll fit." And that was really helpful. And I have to say that now, with the place that we live, I feel so much lighter. I really do. I just think, golly, it takes me 5 minutes to clean up this kitchen, you know, and things like that. And so that was really one of the things that I wanted. Plus, we get 3 meals a day and I don't have to cook.
I think for a lot of people who, when they go into decluttering, there's a little bit of ambivalence and maybe a little even embarrassment around collections. You know, the Boyd's Bears collections, the Beanie Baby collections, the Hummel collections. And, you know, I liken that, and I guess sometimes I'll even tell this to a client. You know, when I was I was right at the right age that when I was a little girl, Barbies were like, they were starting to come out and they were a big thing. And of course, I had a collection of Barbies and Barbie clothes and Barbie paraphernalia and all of that. Well, I outgrew it. And there was no pain involved as I grew older of going, I don't do Barbies anymore. And you know, I'm sure my mom, you know, passed it on to somebody else that had younger kids. And I sort of invite clients sometimes to think about it like that. There is no shame, and you got a lot of joy in collecting Boyd's Bears. And when you traveled, you got a Boyd's Bear, and when, you know, you got all the little, or the Hallmark Christmas ornaments and every year, and you really, really, really enjoyed that, and that is great. The question is, have you outgrown it? Do you not want to do it anymore? You know, you're not maybe putting up a big tree because the kids don't live there anymore, or you, it's okay. You got rid of the Barbies when you outgrew them, and you didn't think twice. You can get rid of other, you know, your Beanie Baby, your teeny Beanie Baby collection, because that was a heck of a lot of fun back in the 90s, but you're just in a different place in your life, and that's okay. So, you know, if using the Barbie analogy is helpful, you know, feel free to do it. No shame in what you did. You had a great time getting that stuff back then, but it's a different time in your life.
Oh, I have a little Barbie story to share. Is that okay, Dave, if I share the Barbie story? So we recently helped Dave downsize, and I found a box of Barbies and Barbie clothes. And I had so much fun going through and sorting out those Barbie clothes and putting them on the Barbies. And I had to change a few extra outfits here and there. But, you know, Dave kept coming up and goes, "You're having too much fun over there." I said, "Oh, okay, I'm working. But, you know, you know, it really brought back memories. And, you know, don't be afraid to let somebody come in and help you with your stuff, because we might actually have a little fun doing it.
Well, and I wanna, and also, take a picture. You know, take a picture of your collection or something like that, because when I was going through the house, and I knew it was there, but I had a flower girl dress that I wore in my oldest sister's wedding. And a friend of mine said, take a picture. And so I ended up giving it to my niece, but, cause I didn't want to take it. But I have the picture. So, you know, if you're thinking, oh, I just can't get rid of this, or I just can't part with this collection, or I'm parting with part of it, take a picture. And then you can look at it and have that memory.
Great. Mom, this question is gonna be for you. Now, I know, having had the antique mall, that you have some sentiments about collections. People like to kind of tend to keep their collection together, right? What would you have to say about that?
Yes, so people will come to me all the time, and they'll still call me and say, hey, I have a collection of this or that, and it's like, can you sell my collection? I said, they said, and they'll say, because it's all together, I have all of them, I really want them to stay together. Well, why do people have collections? Because they like to collect. It's not as fun to buy the whole collection. It's fun to go to the antique stores and the thrift stores and the flea markets and wherever and buy them on eBay and collect them and get them and, you know, cherish each one as they come in. The collections aren't as much fun to buy a collection, is it? So when you have a collection, you're gonna be better off if you sell those pieces individually. And not very many people are gonna wanna buy your whole entire collection.
Great. Stephanie, when should someone call a move manager? What are the signs that we might need help?
Well, the short answer is whenever the adult version of pizza, beer, and your friend's pickup trucks isn't gonna get the job done. Most of us have outgrown that. But I came up with 6 things, and Wendy, you know, you think and tell me if I've missed something. One is if significant downsizing is involved, and Marge really touched on this very well. A move manager is gonna help the client move from, I know I can't take everything. Well, yeah, duh. Most people get to that point pretty easily. But then the question becomes, but what can you take? Where's it gonna go in the new space? How wide is it? How is that gonna have the impact on other things that you're thinking about taking? All of those kinds of things. So having somebody drill down past that, well, I know I can't take everything, can be really, really helpful. And then there's just the practical nature, as Marge said, what's gonna happen to all those things you've decided you're not gonna take? Who's gonna pack those things up and take them away? Who's gonna drive around town and decide, what donation centers to drop them off? There's just a lot of practical elements about that. If the person has physical health limitations, you said packing and moving is hard physical labor, and we forget that, especially if we haven't done it in a long time. And even if you have a lot of people helping, your adult kids come in, your church group comes in and helps you get things done, somebody has to tie up every loose end before you move and get every single thing, that last plow, out of the backyard and out the door. And I think a piece that folks often don't think about, too, when you brought this attention, what are you gonna do on the other end? Who's gonna unpack all those boxes and put things away and deal with the fact that you're gonna have to reconfigure where things go more than likely, because your new space is gonna be a little bit different than your old space. So are there physical limitations? The third thing is there an element of urgency around the move? Maybe somebody passed away and Uncle Joe can't live by himself anymore, and quick decisions need to be made. Maybe somebody is in rehab post-surgery, and the rehab center isn't gonna let them go home until certain things have been put in place. Maybe your adult kids are available to help, but because of jobs and so forth, they're only gonna be available during a very specific period of time. Maybe there's rental property involved, or new owners want to take possession of property at a certain time, or the moving company is only available on this particular day. So if things have to move fast, or they have to dovetail in a very specific way, hiring professionals, that's something that they can help make happen more efficiently. The third thing that we talked a little bit about is if there are family dynamics that are going to get in the way of making this happen smoothly. Hiring professionals introduces an element of neutrality, and it lessens the number of decisions that have to be made by committee. And that's sometimes where things can go awry. And sometimes I can tell you just my personal experience having worked in this field, sometimes we act as referee. Sometimes we say the hard things to family members that other family members aren't necessarily in a position to say. And sometimes we will just make an executive decision based on our own knowledge and experience. I'll tell you, we were helping a lovely family move to another state. And interesting, they were not downsizing, they were moving from a home here in Lincoln to a home in another state. And the husband just got in his mind about the number of pots and pans that they were gonna take. Now, and it was fine. I mean, the wife, who apparently did most of the cooking, she had already set some things, a lot of kitchenware aside, that wasn't gonna make the move. But he just decided that 3 pans were enough, and she didn't need that little pan, that little saucepan was a no. And they were off in the other room just bickering about this little saucepan. Well, I just wrapped it up and put it in the box. And I they were gonna be fine with 4 saucepans. And I just told her when I could get her aside later, and I just said, and I sealed the box. And I said, it's in that box. In the very unlikely event that on the other end he unpacks the box, sees the saucepan, and loses his mind, you could just say, oh, that idiot girl in Lincoln, I told her we were donating it, and she just didn't listen. No problem. So if there are family dynamics getting in the way, a move manager, a professional move manager can help with that. If there really is like a lot of stuff, or if there's genuine hoarding involved, that's a whole other topic of discussion. But if it's, or that 10 storage units in addition to the house and the garage and the shed out in the back and the barn, that's just more stuff than a handful. You're gonna need to bring in the troops under those circumstances. And then I would also add, if you really want to have anything more than a small scale garage sale, if you've got in mind that you're gonna have this big giant, bring in the professionals. Like moving and packing, it is a great deal of physical labor. It involves it's more than just slapping price tags on stuff. And I would say if that's a route that you wanna go, which is fine, but hire help, get help with that. So those are kind of the 6 broad categories where I would say you might really wanna consider bringing in the professionals. Wendy, did I leave out any scenario that you would add?
Very good, I'm back here.
Oh, you went there, hello.
Very good.
Okay. All right.
Okay, I got one more question for you, because I've had this conversation, it's come up a couple times. In your opinion, how many crock pots does
Apparently 6, some of us need 6 or 7, judging from my, personal experience.
Some people keep borrowing them and don't return them.
Right. Okay. You remember that family dynamic thing that I was talking about earlier? I think we're seeing it in real life.
All right, so how does decluttering affect the value of a home, Mom, when it's time to sell?
So decluttering can have a really big impact on the sale of your home. And when people walk through a house, they're not just looking at the structure, but they're wanting to imagine themselves living there. And it's hard to imagine yourself living somewhere if you see all these personal things laying around. If you see pictures of your kids or your grandkids sitting all over the place. That just tells you this is not your home, doesn't it? So be careful when you have your house for sale. Also, the decluttering, it lets more light into the room and things just show better. It looks like the rooms are bigger and like you have more space. And the closets, that is very important. The closets and storage areas, they'll feel more spacious and people will say, look at all the storage they have here, instead of, look at all this stuff they have. And then they start thinking about their stuff, and it's like, maybe I don't want to move. Really, that happens. So decluttering, helps it when there's less stuff. It often leads to more interest from a lot of different buyers. And homes that are well prepared and decluttered, they photograph much better. And so, it's not just the people coming through it, but chances are for every one person that's coming through your house, there's 100 people who have seen your house online. And some of them are just looking to see what your house looks like, and they know you. So that's another reason to get it all cleaned up. Yes, and many of them are neighbors, yeah. First open house is always for neighbors. And decluttering also helps homeowners on the other side of that transaction. So when someone's already started sorting through their belongings before the house goes on the market, that saves you from having to make a lot of those decisions all at once. And believe me, moving comes with a lot of decisions, and what we see lots of times is just decision fatigue from having to decide about every little thing, right? So that really will help both you and the buyer and the seller.
Great. Now we're gonna kind of talk about some tips maybe that we can do. There's a lot of us here that are just kind of wondering, going home today, if there's some things that we can do to kind of start the decluttering process, the downsizing process. What should we do first? This is a question for all you guys, if you've got some input.
Start small. 1 drawer, 1 closet, 1 corner, 1 bookshelf. Even, set a timer if that helps you. I'm actually a big one on that. If something feels a little overwhelming, say I'm gonna do it for 20 minutes. This is where it can get a little tricky. Pull everything out, which is also why you wanna start small. Pull the drawer all the way out, dump it out on a, newsprint on the floor. Clean out the drawer, because you're gonna be really proud of it when you're done. But that 3-box method, or bag method, I really do recommend. You physically have a laundry basket, a garbage bag, boxes, whatever you want to call it. Keep, toss, donate. I would also add 2 more, especially if you're doing big jobs. Return, If you borrowed 5 crock pots and need to return them to somebody, or you wanna check with your son-in-law and see if he wants the fishing pole before you make another decision for it, or, you know, it's, you borrowed it from a neighbor and it needs to go back, that kind of thing. So some kind of a return box, or even it belongs to another part of the house, and a repair box. You may have stuffed something away that you really do intend to use, but it needs some action before it can go back in. Now you've gone through everything that was in there and you've made a decision about it. Then and only then do you put the keep stuff back into that space. But also I urge you, promptly take the garbage out. Promptly put the donate bag in your car so it can ride around in the backseat of your car for the next 6 months. You know, commit to yourself that you are gonna take that watch in and have a battery replaced, or you're gonna, you know, take those shoes in and have them resold or whatever, and not just chunk them back in the closet. So, you know, start small, pull everything out, have those categories of things ready, and you will be actually super motivating. You will be extremely excited about what you're able to get done in your decluttering. Bring a friend over. It's a lot more fun when it's somebody else's crap. You know, open wine. Do what you gotta do to make it as pleasant a chore as you can. But you will get a lot more of a charge out of it than you might suspect. You will feel much lighter, as Marge said. Even just doing one drawer and one closet. Very, very fulfilling.
What about a room? Is there a specific room you would start with?
Golly, what room in your house needs it the most? You tell me. That's not super overwhelming. Has your bathroom gotten, have a lot of little stuff in your bathroom? The guest room that a guest couldn't fit in? The basement? I mean, you tell me what, the coat closet, which is usually small, and those are very practical, but they do kind of end up being a catch-all for stuff. I mean, somebody be brave. If we were gonna come over to your house today and do one room, what would it be? What's that?
Coat closet,
The coat closet.
quick and easy.
Well, that's true too. It may be pretty quick and easy. You get a quick bang for your effort. Yeah. And let me say something, man, you know, nobody loves cute containers more than me. Don't buy those first. Do your decluttering, get your coat closet like how you want it, and then if you want some cute containers for your gloves and your scarf and your hats, you can go do that. But usually if you go get those containers first, you're just gonna wind up with more clutter. Because they aren't gonna exactly work like you envisioned. How's your pantry? You got a pantry? That's another, I don't have a pantry, so I don't often think about that, but pantries can get pretty out of hand pretty quickly. Kids' room, craft room, yeah. One more brave person. If we come over to your house, what are we working on today?
Basement.
The basement. Yeah. Okay.
Well, we started, when the gals came, we started on the basement. But when I was kind of doing some things on my own, I actually started in the living room, and I did exactly what Stephanie said. I had buffets, I just had a lot of stuff in the living room. And I would just take everything out, put it on the floor, and then look at it and decide what I wanted to, the 3 things: donate, keep, or throw away.
Well, I would say start in the room that you don't use very often. That way you get everything out of there and it'll stay that way. And then make yourself a promise that you won't put anything back in there when you declutter the other room.
Is there a specific amount of time that you suggest that somebody works on this in a day? What about for you, Marge? Was there like a time where you were like, okay, I gotta quit?
Yeah, I finally got so tired that I had my husband come up and put stuff away with me because, it is exhausting. But when my daughter showed up, she said, "Okay, Mom, I'm gonna make a spreadsheet." And she said, "We're going room to room, and what you think you can take, and what you think you can't, and what won't fit." And so that did help an awful lot. And because, I think, well, maybe this, and she'd say, "Let's go back to the spreadsheet." So anyway, but I would really suggest that you take everything out of drawers and things and just look at it and decide what you're gonna do with it.
So for some of us who are procrastinators, it's not about how much time we are allowing ourselves to work, but it's actually getting in there and getting the job started. So for you who are procrastinators, not me, of course, right? But I'm speaking for a brand, okay? Tell yourself you're only gonna spend 5 or 10 minutes. That's your goal, 10 minutes. Chances are, when you get in there, you might spend 15 or 20 or 30, and still that's doable, right? But the hard part is just getting in there. So if you just set yourself a small goal, it's easier to make, and then you feel like, hey, 5 minutes, I did 10, you doubled up on that. So you'll feel like you accomplished more.
Great. What's one thing that every family should start doing this year?
Okay, so one thing that every family can start doing this year is start having conversations. That's how it all gets started. Is you have those conversations, you need help to make those decisions. If you have family members or friends or neighbors or people who you want involved in kind of being on your board and helping you make those decisions and ideas you can bounce off to and what you want and what your plans are, then now is the time to start having those conversations. Even if you don't get to the point where actually doing it, if something happens to you, they know what your wishes are and what you want. And sometimes one thing that you can do this year is just go around your house. If there are some family heirlooms, things that you want to keep, put stickers on them for whose name you want them to go to. I had an aunt who did that for me, and she not only put the stickers on them, but she'd put like little pieces of paper in these vases. Then she'd say, this is Grandma and Grandpa Anderson's wedding gift, or, this came from your mom, or something like that. So those little things will mean a lot to your family. And pass those things along while you still can. There's a really great company out there, and it's called Artifacts. And it's ARTIF, there's no A, CTS. So it's like Artifacts, but there's no A in there. And this is a really cool company for these computer geeks. Is George in the room? But people who love to do things online. What you can do is it's an online thing, and they will give you a QR code, and they'll even send you stickers. And each one of your little stickers has a QR code, and then you can put a description of that and take a picture of it if you want to, and tell the whole history of that. So, it might be a longer history than just came from Grandma so-and-so. And then, when your kids are going through your stuff, if you're no longer there, it's all online, and it tells them the whole story about where that family heirloom came from. So I think that's a kind of a really cool idea.
Yeah, for sure. Is there anything simple that we can do to maybe increase the value of our house today and maybe make us a little less stressful, more peace?
Well, if you are thinking about selling your house because you're decluttering and then you're downsizing and then you're going to be moving, just getting some of that stuff out of there is a good idea, because it makes it, like I said, makes it seem more spacious and less cluttered. It'll sell faster, more people will have eyes on it, and you'll probably get a better value for your home.
And what should people stop saving?
Well, I guess I would say, look at your collections, because that's really hard. And see if, I have a granddaughter that is into photography, and my husband husband collected cameras for years. And she said she wanted all of them. And they will be in her house. So that was really exciting to me. But collections can be tricky because if you don't downsize or something, why then you'll have all these things that really nobody wants. And I agree with putting the kids went through, put their names on things. And that was really helpful because then when I did sell some other furniture, I knew exactly what they wanted. And so I wouldn't put that up for sale. So that really helped.
I came across a new term recently and I really resonated to it, and it's called aspirational clutter. It's that stuff you bought because you thought you were going to fill in the blank. You were gonna take up knitting. You were going to sew your niece's wedding dress. You were going to, I don't know. And I'm a crafter myself, and so, yes, so, kind of thinking along that aspirational clutter. You genuinely meant well, you thought you were gonna take up whatever, and somehow that never happened, but gosh, you put so dang much money into all of it. You know what? Let it go. Let it go. Let it go to somebody else who really will use it. And no, if you change your mind in the future, you can go get more of it. But aspirational clutter, because you thought at some point in your life that you were gonna take up a hobby or get involved with something, and it just never happened.
I should say that one of the things people need to stop saving is all those things that they have just in case. Just in case I might need this. I have a drawer full of cords that I don't know where they go to, right? Because I might need that cord. I don't know where it goes. I haven't used it for 5 years, but the minute I throw it away, I'm gonna need it, right? So those kind of things. So throw away all those mystery cords and things you don't need.
What questions should families ask themselves when holding on to something?
Well, I would say the one question that would really be a defining question is this serving my life today? Is this gonna, not the life that you had 20 years ago or when you were younger, or the life that you think that you might have someday, but the life that you're living right now, is this really serving you? And I want you to really be honest, because or to be honest, a lot of people come to these seminars thinking that we have some magic potion or magic tricks for doing everything, but there really isn't a one size fits all, and we all know how to throw things away. We all know how to go through our things. We all know how to put things in a box and store them in the basement, right? Or load them on a car and take them to a donation site. So some of us really don't need help with that physical part because we know what to do, but the whole part that we do need help is the motivation, a little bit of coaching, and sometimes a deadline. Just like when you were working, when you went to work, your boss had a job and you were supposed to do it and you had a deadline and you had to get it done. So now for some of us who are retired, we can do things on our own, we're our own boss. And when it comes to maybe decluttering or doing the downsizing that we need to do, we need to think of it as, this is my current job, okay? I'm the boss. Are we gonna fire ourselves for not getting it done? Or are we gonna say, good job, I got another one for you, right? So just kind of think about that. Give yourself a deadline. And sometimes that's hard to give ourselves our own deadline, but don't let your deadline be because of a crisis, because that's a whole nother situation.
And I would say too, when I first started in this process, I thought, what am I gonna do with all those family pictures and vacation pictures? And when I decided, of course, the family pictures took priority. And I did take quite a few family pictures over, but the vacation pictures, came to, I looked at it and I'm thinking, where were we even at? And why do I have 5 pictures like this? And so, those are pretty easy to go through. But I would also say, if you look at something and say, that was 20 years ago, or this doesn't give me any joy anymore, why, get rid of it.
All right. So downsizing without drama begins before you make the move. It begins when you're calm, when you're in control, and when you're able to make decisions. So I'm just gonna kind of end this with letting you guys know, open those drawers, open those closets, maybe get started on that basement. Make the small steps, start today, making those small steps that can really help in the future and kind of move us out of that space of clutter. The goal isn't to get rid of your life, it's to protect your future. So I want to thank all of our panelists up here today. Thank you for being here and telling us all of your guys' input. If you guys could start filling out, if you don't already have your surveys filled out for us, go ahead and start doing that. We're going to go ahead and start collecting those. While they're filling those out, do any of you guys have any final thoughts that you want to put out there? Yeah,
We'll pass the mic around for
yeah.
questions.
Cora?
TJ, do you want to pass the mic around for questions?
Did you have a question?
Questions? Anybody? Any questions?
Yes, she did have a question. How do you find a move manager?
How do you find a move manager?
So that is a good question. Being in real estate, we do have mood managers that we use. We mostly use Wendy over there with Organized by Design, because it just seems like no matter what the situation is, if it's an urgent thing, Wendy can always fit you in and get the job done. And she also does a your first free consultation, so she can help you and let you know what's going on and what it's going to cost and how long it's going to take, and you can get the job done pretty quickly.
And I want to say one more thing about Wendy. When we moved over to Kimberly, the girls helped us get everything settled. And then she came the next day and put up all the pictures of it. I mean, the pictures still wouldn't be up if it was up to us. So think about that.
Question came up, how do you find a list of places that take donations? That's a great question. And you know what, we don't get a toaster oven if we, book you. And so I don't want to, but it just happens that Organized by Design is here today. We have a list. Real estate agents probably have lists of places and even, when are they open, what kind of stuff don't they take? Because different places take different things. I will tell you one thing, just FYI, it's really hard to donate furniture. Unless you're willing to transport it. So another reason to have some advance notice on that. But yeah, your real estate agent, your move manager will have ideas of donation centers.
Any other questions?
How about selling things online? Selling things online.
Yeah, so we can do estate sales either way. We can do them online or we can do them in person. And when you were talking about donating furniture, it's even harder to sell it. It's hard to sell it. Sometimes you have to put it by the curb and give it away. But there's a lot of other places too that I know, because I work with some other organizations that just have people in need. So they can't even afford to maybe go and pay it for it at Goodwill. So we do know some good resources for that too, where your home will be very much appreciated.
Anybody else? Oh.
Actually, I have a two things. If you have fine art or fine things, or fine antiques, make darn sure who's ever taking care of you knows the value. Okay, so that's number one, and then I have a plug. The Craftsman family rocks. They stayed with me, I had a heck of a time selling my house, and my house is a country club, was a country club. So TJ and Jim and Alicia, I mean, if you have a house to sell, her specialty is folks in our vintage. So, also organized by design. I wish I would have called them earlier. They are amazing. So those are my plugs. And my only advice is if you have fine art and you have fine antiques, make darn sure who's ever doing your stuff knows what they're looking at.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, we're gonna go ahead and have our educational partners come in here for the drawings. We can grab all those surveys. We have the panelists pick out the winners. Make you guys even more popular. Okay, and we're gonna go ahead and let our educational partners do a quick introduction and tell us what you got.
Hello, I'm Wendy with Organized by Design. Stephanie, amazing, isn't she amazing with Organized by Design? And then on the piano, so thank you for, I thought it'd be better just for them to be in. But if you have questions about downsizing, organizing, we'd be happy afterwards to talk to you about it. So, also, thank you for the people that attended the stage. We had the presentation on organizing, so thanks for attending. I'm also doing the same presentation at R12. So we have flyers here. If anybody wants a flyer and wants to come, if you've come already, bring friends. It's very informative and we talk about downsizing, decluttering. So let us know, raise your hand if you want one, Stephanie can bring it around. And then I also have a puzzle, so, because we're trying to put all of our puzzles together, pieces together of moving, downsizing. And then, yeah, but when you're done with it, what are you gonna do? Donate it, thank you.
Do you have to register for this?
No.
Okay, no. Just keep your hands up and we'll.
April 1st, right?
April 1st.
No fooling, it really is.
Pete with Artful Health. We're a primary care provider for seniors 60 and above. We're a value-based healthcare system which really allows us to slow things down and cater to the senior population especially. Our doctors spend a lot of time taking care or listening to all your health concerns and needs. It's a great place. So if you know anybody or you or anybody else who might be looking for a new primary care doctor, please come check us out. I've got a Husker basketball basket, which is probably bad timing after last night. It's got Husker socks, a towel, some marshmallow, and a stress ball. So.
Tanya Godwin, Oasis Senior Advisors. We are a free service to seniors and their families, whether that is you're looking for independent living, assisted living, or other levels of care. We can help review with long-term care policies, we can help with travel, we can help with some of the financial aspects, and of course, veterans benefits is another big key piece that most people don't know about. So we really are kind of a full one-stop service where we can help you really get lined up for success. So speaking of success and the luck of the Irish, we brought with us, there is this neat little St. Patrick's Day fanny pack thing. those are coming back. The fanny packs, who knew? Bell bottoms, fanny packs. There is a super cool Ray Dunn mug that says "Luck of the Irish," and then a fun little horseshoe that you can put for decoration. And I may or may not have hidden a little Amazon gift card in there.
Hello, I am Susan from Sage Living by Tabitha. Tabitha's independent senior living. It's been great to see a lot of you out to my community for some of our different events that I have partnered with a lot of the folks here. Wendy and I had a super great turnout for the organizing event. If you missed it, tons and tons of great information. Go hit up R12 for round 2. We also are the intergenerational community, so we have the college students who live under our building, which is tons of fun. Reach out to me if you're interested in senior living. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Reagan. I'm with the Alzheimer's Association. Here in Nebraska, we provide reprogramming support for those living with Alzheimer's and their care partners. One thing that we have going on right now is everyone knows that, the legislature is in session. So we have a bill coming up that we're really hoping that passes, which will help cover private pay insurance to cover the care and medicine for Alzheimer's between the ages of 55 and 65, because some of those drugs run up to $10,000 a month. So because of you and people who donate to the walk and just to the association, we're able to fund measures like that. So we're really hoping that passes. If we would be the second state in the nation to do that. So let's hope some good things. And I have a thermometer and a little tabletop torch for you.
Hello, I am Natalie Leon with Visiting Angels. We provide home care services. So a lot of our clients just need a little bit of help at home, whether it's helping with housekeeping, laundry, helping with transportation, going to get groceries, meal prep, all the lovely things, to personal care as well. And today I have this lovely basket. It has a nice little candle from Wax Buffalo. We got some lotion, and then of course we have some crossword and word find type puzzles for you to do as you're sitting there relaxing.
Hi, I'm Barbara Killip, and I'm with Savvy Aging, which is the Nebraska Aging in Place Council. And we help you find resources that you may need to age in place. And we have 5 pillars that we work with, which are housing, financial, transportation, social, and wellness. And I have a little checklist at my table out there that helps you go through different things that you can think about to help you age in place. For under housing, kind of get along with what we were talking about today, remove expired items and refresh cabinets and emergency kits. And so that would give you kind of a check off of something that you could do to help you age in place. Thank you.
I'm Chloe Oxford with Oxford Great Escapes. I'm a travel agent. It's my first time here. It's really fun. What I've been working with Alicia on is we've been talking about creating a travel group so that you guys will be able to travel together. And I do specialize in senior travel, because sometimes there's a little extra things we need to know about when we're traveling. There may be some extra equipment, that type of stuff, and I do specialize in that. I do have some surveys out there on my table that I would really appreciate if you could take a few minutes to fill out. Not asking for any personal information, just want to know where you want to go, what you want to do, that type of stuff, so we can put together something that you would love. And thank you again for letting me have you here.
I need that checklist for what's in my Lazy Susan, because I was donating to the food bank the other day. I had 2017 items in there, so just so you know, make sure you go through all of your food that's in your Lazy Susan. Kay Jeske, Bridge to Better Living. We help seniors find independent living, assisted memory care, long-term, no cost to you across Nebraska. Spend a lot of my time going out and speaking with groups like this just to educate. We find that education is powerful, and the more you learn, so huge shout out to Alicia and team, because I think education is just critical. But my owner, Mary Ann Stallings, is a member here at St. Mark's, and so she was really excited that we were gonna be here today. So I have a lovely candle and some hand soap and a great Bridge to Better Living koozie.
I didn't know I was supposed to bring a door prize, so I bring 2 next month, so just trying it out.
Well, I purposely went last. My name is Dave Tuttle. I worked for American Senior Benefits. I do anything you want to do when it comes to retirement. Okay, that's my plug. But my real plug is I am the poster child for decluttering and downsizing. I just had it done. And believe me, I am glad it's done. For those of you that don't know, Alicia and TJ sold my house. So needless to say, that took some downsizing. They did everything. Believe me, if I would have had to do it on my own, I'd still be doing it. And I just want to put an endorsement. They are very good at what they do. Not only do they sell your house, which they sold mine, thankfully, they also have an estate piece. So they did an estate. So what I want to tell you, if you want to see Alicia turn into a little girl, get Barbies. She spent, no kidding, all day at it. Oh, this dress went with this dress, and it was amazing watching her. But the thing about it is, I also can relate to the collectibles. My father-in-law worked for Budweiser for 30 years. So guess what I had a lot of? Steins. And they weren't cheap Steins either. You know, you talk about what's collectible, what's not collectible. They were all high-end Steins. So we had a bunch of those. He also was a NASCAR fan, which I too am. And we had a bunch of those. We also had some collectibles we didn't even know we had. You talk about looking in a box for a long time. We had a crawl space I didn't know was there. It was full and of stuff I didn't know I had. You know, we opened drawers, we opened different places and found things I didn't know I had. But the nice thing was, Alicia's favorite line was, sell it. And so that's what we did. So anyway, that's my story. I totally endorse what TJ and Alicia do, because they did it for me. I'm practical. So anyway, my gift, this is also practical. What I put together is, these are what I like to call a Benny binder. What that is you are able to put in it all things you benefit from when it comes to insurances. Your Medicare goes in here, okay? And you can keep everything together in one place. So you know, hey, how many of you, be honest, don't know where your life insurance is? The policy. Yeah, no, don't be afraid to throw yourself under the bus. I don't know where mine is either. But anyway, this is something that's practical. You can keep it all in one place. All policies that you have, investments, all of that. So that's what I brought. So I'm done talking.
Great. And I'm TJ Crastel. I'm with the Nebraska Real Estate Specialty Group of Nebraska Realty. And we've got the gifts for people who brought friends. So if you want to, yes, and people that haven't, a friend who hasn't been here before, yes. So if you brought a friend that hasn't been here before, raise your hand, I'll come and get you a gift. Yeah, and then I'll go ahead and give this to my mom so she can start the drawings.
Okay, Marjorie. The first one gets the organized by design. Marla Nissen. Marla, go ahead and get your gift. Okay, and the next one gets the Archwell, Nebraska basket. Luann Gorgon. Karen Biley. Karen? Susie Creeder. Where's Susie? Is she still here? Okay, great.
Ron Anderson.
Where are you, Ron?
Thank you.
He left, okay. Grab somebody else. Gotta be here to win it. Oh, that's the one I just read. Grab another one. And what gift is next in line? The one from Alzheimer's. Myra Linderman. Myra. And the one from Visiting Angels. Oh, I'm kidding. Barbara Nast. Barbara. Okay, and then we have from Bridges to Better Living. Kathy Froscheiser. Kathy, where's Kathy? Kathy's over here.
Come on down.
And we got the benefit binder. Go ahead, Marjorie. Make a friend. Lynette Hampton. Come on down. Okay, I think that's it for you guys today. Now, next month we have a real treat. We're going to be talking about scams and how to avoid being a victim of a scam. We have someone here from the governor's office. We have Josh Planos from Better Business Bureau. And we have William Boucher, who's a deputy with the Nebraska Real Estate Commission. And we actually have a scam victim who's going to talk about her story, how she got scammed out of her whole entire life savings. So that's going to be a really good one to attend. So we hope to see you all. Thank you.